What's up everyone, I'm Janice and welcome to my YouTube channel. You're watching Inspiration of Color, where we feature people of color who are doing big things. Today we have the talented Bianca Alysse with us. She's a writer for Latina magazine and she's worked with music moguls from Sony Entertainment and Universal Music Group. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right into it. You've worked with a lot of companies. Talk about some of the major companies you've worked with and your involvement with them.
I initially started off when I graduated from Norfolk State working with indie artists within the DC and Virginia area. From that point on, there was a producer at Universal Music Publishing Group who needed an artist bio, and I handled that. And so I guess he saw that I had a knack for it. And from that point on, an unpaid internship presented itself with Compound Entertainment, which is Neo's imprint. I was an unpaid intern for, I would say, about 2 months, and that was with limitless parameters. And fortunately, in time, I was hired on, as an assistant. And a few people, since they work closely with other labels, for example, at Good Music, Josie, who was just an executive assistant, saw what I was doing and she pulled me as well and was like, hey, we could totally use you here also. And so many times that was how things happen for me. One hand always leads to the next.
It feels like you always had like a very dedicated and determined mindset. You talked about in one of your pieces how you knew that you were going to write for Latina magazine one day. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Latina was important in my house. It was one of the few subscriptions that my mother had, and it was the only thing that I saw that represented women that looked like me. So I love the fact that they talked about the stories about entrepreneurship, about women that were doing amazing things as far as activism within the community, and I didn't see that anywhere else. And so I feel like that was something great that my mom did, and it led somewhere. So,
speaking about voice, a writer's voice is very important, and I've noticed you're very direct, straightforward in your pieces. How does one grow confident in their voice?
I struggled with my voice for a long time. I feel like even though I've been writing, recently is when I've really began to really find my voice, and there are writers that have been doing this much longer than I have. They're amazing, talented writers at Latina. I feel like this is still a learning experience for me. I'm by no means a know-it-all. I don't, everyone has room to grow, but I feel like for me, I've always had an open mind and the willingness to learn. So that has been very helpful.
Just to touch on the future, where do you see yourself ultimately? Do you see yourself continuing to be a writer? Where do you see yourself?
A goal for me, I would like to put a creative center in the Bronx. That is because I didn't have those resources,
Right.
Or even when I transitioned to Virginia where I grew up, I didn't see the things that inspired me around me. So I would like to put them out there so that maybe children who are also creatives, who may not necessarily come from a lot of money, because I don't come from money, will have affordable resources to express themselves.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate your time, and make sure you tune in because I'll be having more of these interviews, so stay tuned and I'll see you next time.